The deepest wounds are the ones inflicted by those we've sacrificed everything for. I should know, I've spent decades of my life giving pieces of myself away, only to watch them get trampled on like they were nothing. Before I tell you how I finally took back what was mine, you should understand that I tried. God knows I tried to be the mother they needed. I opened my heart, my home, my wallet, everything. And what did I get in return? An email. A goddamn email telling me I wasn't welcome at my own daughter's wedding. The same wedding I had already put $35,000 toward. If you stay until the end, you'll understand why sometimes the only way to heal is to make sure those who hurt you feel exactly what you felt. The morning I received Brianna's email, I was sitting at my kitchen island with a cup of coffee, scrolling through my tablet. It was unseasonably warm for Connecticut. Through the window I could see my neighbor watering his precious hydrangeas, the ones he babied more than most people do their children. My phone pinged with a notification, and there it was, my daughter's name in bold. I remember smiling before I opened it. Things had been tense between us lately. Arguments about wedding plans, about her fiancé Bobby who I never trusted, about the money. But wedding planning is stressful for everyone, I told myself. We'd work through it. Allison, the email began. No, dear Mom, no, hi Mom. Just my name. Like a label on a file. We've finalized the guest list for the Tuscany ceremony. And after discussing it with Bobby and his family, we think it's best if you join us via live stream instead of in person. Bobby's mother has strong opinions about the intimate nature of the ceremony, and we want to respect her wishes. I read it twice, my coffee growing cold beside me. The next paragraph was about technical details, how they'd set up a private link, how I could watch from the comfort of my home, as if watching my only daughter get married through a screen was some kind of luxury. The kicker came at the end: if you want to be a part of it, you can watch through the video call. LOL. LOL. She wrote LOL after telling me I couldn't attend the wedding I'd helped finance. The wedding I'd been saving for since she was in diapers. My hands didn't shake. My eyes stayed dry. Something hardened inside me in that moment, something I couldn't name yet, but would come to recognize as my salvation. I typed back, sure. Enjoy your big day. 4 words. No emotion, no fight, just acceptance. I knew it would drive her crazy. Brianna always needed a reaction from me, tears, anger, something she could point to and say, see. This is why we can't have you there. I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. My phone rang almost immediately. I watched her name flash across the screen, then set it face down on the counter. I finished my coffee, rinsed the mug, and drove to work like it was any other day. I've been office manager at Henderson & Associates law firm for 20 years. The managing partner, Robert Henderson, is the kind of man who still holds doors open and remembers how you take your coffee. He noticed something was off the minute I walked in. Allison, you look like you've seen a ghost. I adjusted the papers in my arms and forced a smile. Just didn't sleep well, that's all. He didn't push, but he brought me a latte from the cafe downstairs later, setting it on my desk with a gentle pat on my shoulder. It was the first genuine kindness I'd experienced in months, and I nearly broke down right there. By lunchtime, Brianna had called 15 times and left 10 voicemails. I listened to one. Mom, pick up. This isn't funny. We need to talk about this. Her voice had that edge to it, the one she used when she wasn't getting her way. I deleted it along with the others. At 5 o'clock, I drove to First National Bank and asked to speak with Maria, the manager who'd handled my accounts for years. Mrs. Thompson, always good to see you, she said, ushering me into her office. What can I help you with today? I sat down, smoothed my skirt over my knees, and met her eyes. I need to cancel a wire transfer. Her eyebrows rose slightly. The one to Italy. For your daughter's wedding. Yes, that one. May I ask why? There might be fees associated with the cancellation. I'll pay the fees, I said, my voice steadier than I'd expected. The circumstances have changed. Maria typed something into her computer. The good news is it hasn't processed yet. You caught it just in time. She looked up at me. Are you sure about this, Mrs. Thompson? $60,000 is a significant amount. 60,000. That was what I'd planned to give them on top of the 35,000 I'd already contributed. $95,000 total for a wedding I wasn't allowed to attend. I'm sure, I said. When I got home, there were 4 more missed calls from Brianna and 1 from my son Brian. So she'd called in reinforcements. I turned off my phone and opened a bottle of Merlot I'd been saving for a special occasion. This qualified. I sat on my back deck as twilight settled over the yard, sipping wine and thinking about how I'd gotten here. About the years of working 60-hour weeks after their father left. About the college tuition payments that emptied my retirement fund. About holding Brianna's hand through 2 breakups and a career change. About helping Brian with the down payment on his house. I'd done everything right. Everything society tells mothers they should do. I'd sacrificed, supported, loved unconditionally. And somehow I'd still ended up alone on my deck, uninvited to my daughter's wedding because Bobby's mother, a woman who'd spent Brianna's childhood in Italy while I was here coaching soccer teams and making Halloween costumes, had strong opinions. My thoughts drifted to Robert Henderson's wife Victoria, who had died 2 years earlier. I'd helped arrange the funeral, ordered the flowers, made sure there was food at the house afterward. Robert had held my hand at one point and said, "Allison, I don't know what I'd do without you." It was professional, not romantic, but it had meant something. Someone saw me. Someone appreciated what I did. When was the last time my children had truly seen me? The wine bottle was half empty when my doorbell rang. I considered ignoring it, but something told me I should answer. Maybe it was Brianna, come to apologize in person. It wasn't. It was Brian, my son, looking uncomfortable in his business casual attire. He'd come straight from his job at the marketing firm. "Mom," he said, stepping past me into the hallway without waiting for an invitation. "Why aren't you answering your phone? Brianna's freaking out." I closed the door and followed him into the living room. "Hello to you too, Brian." He turned to face me, running a hand through his dark hair, the same color mine had been before the gray took over. "What's going on?" "Brianna says you're not coming to the wedding now." "I wasn't invited to the wedding," I corrected him. "There's a difference. That's not how she tells it. She says you're being difficult about the whole Livestream thing." I laughed, and it came out harder than I intended. "Right, the Livestream thing. Where I watch my daughter get married through a screen because her future mother-in-law doesn't want me there." Brian shifted his weight from one foot to the other. "It's complicated, Mom. Bobby's family is very traditional, and they're paying for most of it." I felt my eyebrows shoot up. "Are they?" "Because I've already put in $35,000, and I was about to wire over $60,000 more when I got the email telling me I'm not welcome." That made him pause. $60,000. Jesus, Mom. That's a lot of money. Yes, it is. Money I worked hard for. Money I saved instead of taking vacations or buying a new car or dating after your father left. I moved to the bar cart in the corner and poured myself another glass of wine. I didn't offer him one. "But don't worry, I've cancelled the transfer." "You what?" His voice rose. "Mom, they're counting on that money. The venue deposit, the catering, the flowers, it's all booked." I took a slow sip of my wine. "Not my problem anymore." "Of course it's your problem. She's your daughter." He was almost shouting now. And I'm her mother, I said quietly. But apparently that doesn't mean I get to attend her wedding. Brian ran both hands through his hair this time, his tell when he was frustrated. This is so like you, Mom. Always making everything about yourself. Something snapped inside me. Not loudly, not violently, but definitively, like a thread pulled too tight for too long. Get out of my house. He blinked. What? You heard me. Get out. Mom, come on. No. I set my wine glass down carefully. I have spent my entire adult life making sure you and your sister had everything you needed. I worked 2 jobs when your father decided he'd rather start a new family than support his existing one. I put you both through college. I co-signed your mortgage. I have never, not once, made anything about myself. But I will not stand here in my own home and be spoken to like this. So leave. He stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something flicker across his face. Surprise, confusion, maybe even a hint of respect. Then he turned and walked out, closing the door behind him with a quiet click that somehow hurt more than if he'd slammed it. I stayed standing in my living room for several minutes, my heart hammering in my chest. This wasn't like me. I was always the peacemaker, the one who smoothed things over, who made sure everyone else was comfortable even at my own expense. But as I picked up my wine glass again, I realized something important. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. My phone lit up again on the coffee table. Brianna's face smiled at me from the screen, a photo taken on her birthday last year. Before Bobby, before Italy, before everything fell apart. I pressed the power button until the screen went black. Morning brought no relief, just 52 missed calls and a string of increasingly frantic text messages. I scrolled through them as I made coffee, noting the progression from anger to bargaining to outright panic. Mom, we need to talk. Why aren't you answering? This is childish. The venue called. They said the payment fell through. Please call me back. This isn't funny anymore. Mom, we're going to lose everything if we don't pay by today. Bobby's parents won't cover it all. The last one, sent in the early morning hours. I don't understand why you're doing this to me. I smiled into my coffee mug. Of course she didn't understand. Brianna had spent her entire life receiving my time, my energy, my money without ever questioning where it came from or what it cost me. That was about to change. My phone rang again as I was getting dressed for work. This time it was an Italian number I didn't recognize. Bobby, probably. I declined the call. At work, I found an email from Brianna waiting in my personal inbox. The subject line read, "Please don't ruin my wedding." I opened it, curious to see how she'd frame her argument. Mom, I know you're upset about the live stream situation, but this is extreme. We've lost our venue deposit, and if we don't pay the rest by end of day Italy time, we lose the caterer too. Bobby's parents are furious and saying this proves they were right about you all along. Please don't do this to us. We can talk about you coming to the wedding, but we need that money first. So that was it. They were willing to talk about my attendance now that the money was in jeopardy. Not guarantee it. Not apologize for excluding me in the first place. Just talk about it. As if my presence at my own daughter's wedding was a negotiable item contingent on my financial contribution. I closed the email without responding and focused on the contract review I'd been putting off. Around noon, Robert Henderson stopped by my desk. Lunch, he offered. That new Italian place opened across the street. I almost declined, my standard response when someone interrupted my carefully planned day. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the events of the past day. Or maybe it was just the genuine warmth in Robert's eyes. Whatever it was, I found myself nodding. I'd like that, I said, surprising us both. Over pasta, Robert told me about his weekend with his grandchildren. Exhausting, he admitted, but wonderful. Everything in my life seemed sharper, more meaningful since Victoria died. Like I'm living for both of us now. That's beautiful, I said, meaning it. He set down his fork. Allison, forgive me for saying this, but you seem different today. Lighter somehow. I considered deflecting, as I usually did when conversations turned personal. Instead, I told him the truth. About Brianna, the wedding, the uninvitation, all of it. So I cancelled the money transfer, I finished. And now they're scrambling. Robert whistled low. That's quite a statement. How does it feel? The question caught me off guard. No one ever asked how I felt. They asked what I thought, what I planned to do, what I could offer. Never how I felt. It feels, I searched for the right word, necessary. He nodded slowly. Sometimes we have to set boundaries, even with, especially with, the people we love most. He reached across the table and briefly squeezed my hand. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. When I returned to the office, there were 4 more missed calls and a text from Brian. Brianna is hysterical. Please call her back. I put my phone away and immersed myself in work. It wasn't until I was driving home that I allowed myself to think about what would happen next. The catering deadline had passed hours ago. By now, Brianna and Bobby would be frantically calling vendors, making excuses, perhaps begging his parents for more money. Part of me, a small, still motherly part, ached at the thought of her distress. But the rest of me, the part that had been silently screaming for decades, felt nothing but cold satisfaction. My house was dark when I pulled into the driveway, but there was a figure sitting on my front steps. As I got closer, I recognized Brianna's best friend since childhood, Sophia. Mrs. Thompson, she said, standing as I approached. I'm sorry to ambush you like this. It's fine, Sophia. I unlocked the door and gestured for her to follow me inside. Would you like some tea? She nodded, following me to the kitchen. I filled the kettle and set it to boil, hyper-aware of her eyes on me. Brianna sent you, I said finally, not bothering to phrase it as a question. Sophia sighed. She's a mess, Mrs. Thompson. The venue's gone, and now they're scrambling to find somewhere else to hold the ceremony. Bobby's parents are talking about calling the whole thing off. That sounds stressful. I kept my voice neutral as I placed tea bags in mugs. It is. Sophia leaned against the counter. Look, I get that you're hurt. Being told to watch your daughter's wedding online is, well, it's awful. But is this really how you want things to be between you two? Do you want to blow up your relationship forever? The kettle whistled, and I poured hot water into the mugs before answering. What relationship, Sophia? The one where I give and Brianna takes. The one where I'm good enough to pay for the wedding but not good enough to attend it. She made a mistake, Sophia insisted. A big one, I know. But she loves you. I handed her a mug. Does she? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like she loves what I can do for her. That's not the same thing. Sophia cradled the mug in her hands, looking younger suddenly, more like the girl who used to sleep over in our basement, giggling with Brianna until all hours. What can I tell her? Is there anything that would change your mind? I considered the question seriously. Was there anything Brianna could say or do that would make me release the funds, that would heal this breach? No, I said finally. There isn't. Sophia's face fell. Not even an apology. Words are easy, Sophia. Especially when there's money on the line. I took a sip of my tea. Brianna made her choice. Now she has to live with it, just like I've lived with all of mine. After Sophia left, I sat in my silent kitchen for a long time, thinking about choices and consequences, about how we teach people how to treat us one interaction at a time. My phone vibrated with yet another call from Brianna. This time I answered. Mom. Her voice was raw, desperate. Finally. Please, you have to help us. Everything's falling apart. The venue's gone, the caterer's gone, and Bobby's parents are threatening to pull out completely. Hello, Brianna, I said calmly. Did you hear what I said? We're losing everything. All because you're being petty about the live stream thing. I let her words hang in the air for a moment. I heard you. So you'll help. You'll send the money. The hope in her voice was palpable. No, I said. I won't. Her breath caught. What? I said no, Brianna. The money is staying where it is. But why? Is this about being there in person? Fine, you can come. We'll figure it out with Bobby's family somehow. Just please send the money. I closed my eyes. There it was, the concession I might have accepted a day ago. But something had shifted inside me, something permanent and unbending. It's too late, I said. Too late. It can't be too late, Mom. Please. This is my wedding we're talking about. Yes, I agreed. Your wedding. The one you didn't want me at until you needed my money. She started to cry then, big, gulping sobs that once would have broken my heart. What am I supposed to do now? For the first time in her life, I didn't offer a solution. That, I said quietly, is entirely up to you. I ended the call and turned off my phone once more. Tomorrow would bring more drama, more accusations, more attempts to make me bend. But tonight, in the quiet of my kitchen, I was beginning to recognize the woman I'd always been beneath the role of mother, strong, decisive, and finally, done with putting myself last. The transformation had begun, and there was no going back. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's disrespect. Sometimes healing requires making difficult choices that force others to confront the consequences of their actions. And sometimes, the only way to save yourself is to stop saving everyone else.